Well, Time magazine called him one of the world's 100 most influential thinkers. U.S. News and World Report has named him one of America's 24 best leaders. Amory Lovins is founder and chief scientist of the Rocky Mountain Institute, a think tank that studies energy and, of course, sustainable design. He's the author of 29 books on energy and policy. You've also consulted dozens of businesses, the Pentagon, the UN. I could go on and on, but thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
My pleasure.
We really appreciate it. And you know, it's just such an interesting time, right? We have the president increasing offshore drilling. We have a major oil spill. We see crude oil around $85 a barrel. And you have talked so much about natural capitalism and kicking this dependence on oil. Talk to me first about what natural capitalism is.
Natural capitalism is a way of doing business as if nature and people were properly valued, but without needing to know or signal that value. And the name comes from the notion that capitalism is the productive use of and reinvestment in capital. But what's capital? Industrial capitalism, as we have known it, really only deals with two kinds, money and goods. But there are two other kinds of capital, people and nature, that are even more valuable and essential. And we tend to ignore or liquidate those. But if you play with a full deck and productively use and reinvest in all four kinds of capital, you make more money, have more fun, do more good. Mm-hmm. So natural capitalism combines four operational principles that are interlocked: radically more productive use of resources, producing things the way nature does with closed loops, no waste and no toxicity, rewarding those two shifts through a solutions economy business model so both the provider and the customer get rewarded for the same thing, namely doing more and better with less for longer, and then reinvesting some of the resulting profits back into the kinds of capital you're shortest of, particularly nature. This works really well and gives stunning competitive advantage.
But yet, there still seems to be a divide, granted a closing one, but a divide between environmentalism and environmentalists and big business, corporate America. Now, some companies like Walmart, which you wouldn't have expected, have shown us otherwise. But the big question is, why does natural capitalism make economic sense for big business, especially at a time like this?
Well, it's cheaper to save resources than to buy them. That's why climate protection, for example, is not costly but profitable, because efficiency is cheaper than fuel. Somehow many economic theorists overlook that fact, which is well known to practitioners because they do it every day. Everybody who does energy efficiency makes money at it. Walmart, which you mentioned, has cut the fuel per ton mile on its truck fleet, the biggest civilian fleet in the world, by 38% just from 2005 to 2008. And they're aiming to double their truck efficiency.
What about, it's one thing for big business to make a significant change and to make more money in the process. What about the average homeowner? Most homes in this country are powered by coal. Coal is dirty, but coal is cheap.
I would never suggest that any single technology can meet all needs. You use each one to do what it does best, and you use a portfolio. But just as when you're constructing a financial portfolio, you wouldn't buy one of everything available just because it's there, and that's diversification. You diversify among assets that make sense and make money. You only want to choose things that are actually going to have a reasonable risk and reward. And therefore, a lot of the things that we hear about politically, because there are powerful constituencies that want you to buy their thing, do not actually make sense in an energy portfolio. But we've actually found that available renewables, chiefly wind and solar, plus efficient use, plus demand response, and there are a number of other renewables that get in the mix as well, actually will give you a least cost investment portfolio for electricity. It'll be more secure and reliable than what we have now, and the jobs involved will be much better distributed by skill and location. So it actually meets all of our objectives better than what you will hear from any particular technology proponent. And actually, what we ought to be doing about energy is the same regardless of your political persuasion, regardless of whether you care most about national security or about jobs and profits and competitive advantage or about climate and environment. If we focus on outcomes, not motives, and is on the results we want, not insisting that people want them for the same reasons we do, then I think we can get a broad consensus.